Okay. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Central Zoo Authority, I welcome everyone to episode 11 of Zooming Conservation, a special episode in celebration of World Snakes Day. Today, we shine the spotlight on one of the most fascinating and often misunderstood species, snakes. We are incredibly honored to have the distinguished guest with us, Kedar Bhide, whose career beautifully bridges between the realms of art, ecology, and conservation. Kedar Bhide holds a postgraduate degree in applied biology and management studies and has an impressive 25-year-old professional tenure in multinational corporations, primarily focusing on environmental health. He is founder of NatureWorks, a company dedicated to environmental studies, photography, and archival painting services. As a founder and president of the Reptile Rescue and Study Center, he has dedicated the last 30 years to the noble cause of snake rescue, rehabilitation, and reptile research. He leads the impactful Zero Bite Empowering Communities initiative amid a compact snakebite envenoming and mitigating its impact on mortality and morbidity rates. Kedar Bhide's extensive credentials include being certified environmental impact assessment manager and expert in ecology and biodiversity, with a specialization in urban ecology and biodiversity conservation. He is also certified scuba diver and a wilderness medicine first responder. His photography work captures the beauty of high altitude, underwater, and diverse ecosystem. Additionally, he is an associate with International League of Conservation Writers and actively promotes the conservation writing through his blogs and articles. He also provides advisory services to several conservation and photography related NGOs and organizations. Please join me in welcoming Kedar Bhide to Zoom in Conservation. It's an absolute privilege, sir, to have you today with us. Let's dive into our session.
Thank you. Thank you, Apurva. So good afternoon to all of you. Wish you all a very informative and knowledgeable World Snake Day today. As I'm going to talk about snakes as a species, what I'll be doing is I'll be just going through a basic what is a snake, how it moves, how it lives, why it is needed for the nature. Then we'll see some of the Indian scenarios of different snake species, and probably we'll go into venoms and then snake bite scenarios. So everything around species as a snake, conflict to science, we'll try to share today.
सर आपका आवाज
Yeah.
इको हो रहा है I think there's somebody is unmuted.
हेलो,
अभी आ रहा है सर
अभी आ रहा है?
यस यस
Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. Before I dwell into it, just a small declaration which I always do, because when you are photographing snakes for a lot of work, it's in between always ethical and non-ethical lines into wildlife photography. So I always start with this, and I actually ask or may request people to give the same message. Most of the images featured in this presentation are my own, and proper credit is given when using others' images with their permission. Some images were captured in the wild state, while others were taken in a wild, under control environments, where the snake's movement is limited while ensuring its well-being and safety. No pictures were taken in a studio setup to prioritize the subject's welfare. Care was taken in each photo to avoid causing harm to the subject. So as all our introduction to snakes many times starts with our culture, mythology, and religion. So probably snake is the only species which is covered in probably every religion and culture in the world. Okay, because it's found throughout the world except some spaces. But in all religions, snakes have stories, many times in a negative attitude. Many times, sometimes in culture, you can also see little positives with it. But snakes have an ability to both fascinate and frighten at the same time. So throughout our history of humankind, we have a kind of uneasy relationship with serpents, and they are found in every religion, literature throughout the earth. If you come to India, other than the religion, we have another culture which is very unique to India, that is a snake charmer culture in the old days. Uh, our country used to be called in old days by Westerners as a country of snake charmers. This culture is very unique. The bean and dancing cobra trick, which has been instrumental to creating larger than life effect of snake in psyche of people. So these communities, Naths in Rajasthan, Kalbelia near Agra in Haryana, or in Odisha, there are a few communities in Bihar also. They used to do the snake charming in a lot of old days. Now, getting back to science, how the snakes have come on this planet. They are evolved from lizards in early Cretaceous period, nearly 65 to 144 million years ago. Uh, as typically any kind of evolutionary science, there is always a competitive hypothesis whether snakes in evolved as a fossorial, marine, or terrestrial. But all the hypotheses which at the moment, the publication which I have written here, the ecological origins of snakes as revealed by skull evolution, points its evolution through the lizards. They are found throughout the world except Antarctica as a continent and few islands which are kind of separated from the landmass much early. More than around 3,900 species around the world. India presently has around 352 species. This number is always changing with new taxonomical and phylogenetic studies and discoveries. As I told you, snakes are found on every continent except Antarctica, also in the heights in Himalayas, sea, land, forest, everywhere they are found. There are numerous small islands from which snakes are absent. Iceland, Hawaii, New Zealand, and many small islands on Asia, not Asia Pacific, the Pacific Seas are kind of absent of snakes. If you are looking at snakes and their role in ecosystem, they are a high predator. They feed on frogs, insects, rats, mice, and other rodents, and birds, helping to keep prey population under control. As a prey, many animals are ophiophagus, means feed on snakes also. So there is also food for others as well as they also predate on other prey. Ecosystem engineers, because when they eat other animals which are seed feeders and others, there is a secondary seed dispersal also happens. Disease prevention, because they feed mainly on rodents, particularly on the rats. Lot of diseases which are spread by rats are also controlled. Agriculture communities gets benefited because rat destroys a lot of our food grain and farming. Also about the snake bite envenomation, the antivenom also produced from the venom of the snakes itself. As a zoological classification, there is a class Reptilia, order Squamata, and suborder Serpentis. These animals, their body is cylindrical with overlapping scales, no limbs, no external ear opening. So they can't hear like us, no eyelids. These are their kind of definition of animal which you call as a snake. It's a typical like any other animal. They have vertebral column, heart, stomach. They also get a lot of diseases, fevers, infections. So it's just like any other animal in our ecosystem. Senses, if you have to look at the snakes, they have a smell, sight, touch, and thermoreception senses. They can't hear like us and they can't taste like us. But their tasting generally happens with their tongue when it comes out. It smells the olfactory particles in the air. And when it goes inside here, there is a bony cavity called Jacobson organ where these particles are deposited and snakes comes to know what smell is all around. Snakes, you must have heard that they always mold their skin. It's needed for them. One is that whatever extra salts in their body gets deposited at the outer layer of the skin. The outer layer of the skin is made up of a dead protein called keratin, which never grows. It's the same our nails and hairs are made of. As it doesn't grow, but the body is growing, that whole outer layer need to come out. In reptiles, in particularly snakes, it's a continuous process. Snakes brush their lips on some hard object, rocks and others, and this skin starts coming out and they remove it like we remove our socks and come out of it. Young snakes molds twice, thrice in a month. Adult snakes molds maybe 1 in 3 months to 4 months. Snake's body is always growing. If you are looking at locomotion of snakes, it's an amazing. We always feel like, we have hands and legs. But can we go anywhere? Can we go on water? Can we go underground? Can we climb trees? Can we climb mountains? but snakes can do all those things, you know. They have a different movement locomotion patterns like concertina, serpentine, sidewinding, caterpillar. You must have seen some of the snakes in the desert using sidewinding. That movement is specifically helps snakes, it's adaptation, that at a time only two small parts of the body are in touching with the hot sand. So their body doesn't get burned. They don't get into thermal shocks. That's how the sidewinding movement helps desert snakes in saving themselves from the temperature. If you come to reproduction, they are oviparous and oviparous. Some snakes lay eggs. Some snakes give birth to young ones. They are found across all kind of different ecosystem. They are burrowers. They are terrestrial animals found on mountains, rocks, everywhere. They are arboreal. They are stay on trees in canopies, and they are aquatic. They are on fresh water as well as the marine environments. How do snake decide where to live? And that's very important today when you have a lot of snake human conflict or a negative interactions happening in urban setups. Urban biodiversity is full of some species of snakes. So temperature, structural features, and prey availability plays a very important roles in snakes' position or how they decide on the habitat. So factors influence their habitat selection, foraging and digestive state if they have eaten or they are looking for a food, you know. Uh, so thus any kind of hiding places. So in our buildings we give a lot of hiding places in our foundation to the snakes. We have a lot of rodents around us, so they get a lot of food, and that's how they are going to stay around human habitation. Ecdysis, if they are on a molting, then they will need a hiding place to rest and a cooler place. If they have a disease or injury, then they also will decide where to stay. And during this, mating time, male snakes keeps looking for the female snakes. Female snakes release certain pheromones, and male snakes keep searching for it. So during that time, if somebody has seen a male snakes or killed a male snakes or caught it, a female snake, sorry, and then the male snakes can come behind it just for the pheromones, not to take any kind of revenge. But in our whole psyche and our whole stories, we always keep listening about this revenge. But sometimes it can happen if a female snake is killed and pheromones are lying around, a male snake can come searching for that pheromone, thinking there is a female around. Now let's go to India. We have around 352 species, 16 families and nearly 84 genera. Top 6 families are colubrids, nearly 176 species, Europeltid 48 species, Elapid 43 species. Elapids and viperids are the snakes which has venom glands and a venom apparatus. So there are nearly 76 species we have are venomous in India. Then the last two genera, the Typhlopides, all blind snakes and bigworm snakes. Then there is a Paridae, which are slugs and wood snakes. They have 10 species. Other than that, the remaining 10 families are having less species. If you are looking at a Wildlife Protection Act, all snakes are protected under Wildlife Protection Act. So Schedule 1 covers nearly 16 species of snakes. Schedule 2 covers 300 species of snakes in the recent amendment. So we have snakes protected at one of the wonderful act we have as a Wildlife Protection Act, and the conservation can happen due to it. Few of the snakes found quite common across India, like these bigworm snakes or the shield-tail in particularly from Maharashtra. Then we have Boidae family, which has sand boas and red sand boas here. Then there is a Pythonidae family where we have Indian rock python. As per our checklist of Zoological Survey of India, we have 3 pythons in India: the Burmese python, Indian rock python, and there is a reticulated python from Andamans. Then this is a common rat snake. These all are colubrid families. This is wolf snake. I'm just showing you diversity through pictures, not talking too much about every species. But if you have any questions, please ask me later. This is eastern trinket snake from Arunachal. This is green keelback, quite common in peninsular India. Checkered keelback, again a quite common water snake in much part of India. Striped keelback. Then we have Beddoes Killback, particularly Western Ghat snake. Then from a desert areas, you have a sand snake like these lead sand snakes. There is a Sindh owl-headed snake, Litorhynchus genus. Then there is a red spotted royal snake. These royal snake, again, these snakes are from desert areas of Rajasthan. These both snakes, royal snakes, used to be quite famous with snake charmers to carry all around to show to the people. Then we have some arboreal snakes like common cat snake. There is a Foston cat snake. There is a wine snake. Then the ghost bronzeback tree snake from Arunachal. Then ornate flying snake, again found in the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats and the northeastern part of India. Then there is another family called Homolapsidae, which are very unique snakes, they are not the marine snakes, but they are freshwater and estuarine snakes. So one of the rare snakes of India is the Siebold's water snake, found in our rivers. Then there is a glossy marsh snakes in estuaries around Mumbai to our all coastal areas. Then there is a dogface water snake, again found in all the coastal areas in estuaries. Then we go to Elapidae family where you have cobras. We have four species of cobras in India. One is a binocellate cobra. Then you get monocellate cobra in eastern and northeastern part of India. You get Andaman cobra in Andaman, and you get ocellate or a black cobra towards northwestern areas of India in the Rajasthan and Pakistan border. We have more than 6 krait species in India. This is a common krait. Then other than that, we have a mini banded krait. We have a banded krait in northeast part of India. We have black krait again in northeast part of India. Then you must have heard about king cobra, one of the largest venomous snakes of our country. This is the only snake builds its own nest. If you see it here, it has collected the leaves, bamboo leaves, and made a heap. And the female lay eggs in that and guard it till it comes out, it hatches. But the whole biological cycle is developed so well that when the hatching time comes, the female king cobra leaves the nest and try to go far away, because by nature they are snake eaters. They feed on other snakes. So it might happen that if she stays there, she might eat her own young ones. Then in Viperidae family, we have this is a most common but the most biting incidents happen in India because of these snakes is a Russell's viper. Then you have saw-scaled viper. You have bamboo pit viper in peninsular India and Western Ghats. You have Malabar pit viper in Western Ghats. You have Humnose pit viper, another medically important snakes in the Western Ghats. Here, this is very beautiful Annamalai pit viper in few parts of Western Ghats. Then, after all, looking at these snakes, you must have heard about snake rescue in India, which is a quite, a very big movement we have in India. We have thousands of snake rescuers across towns, cities, villages. When people call them when they see a snake in the house or surrounding them, most of the time, other than a snake rescue, it's actually most of the time is a human rescue because somebody's afraid of snakes, so they don't want snake around them. And we as a rescuer go and catch it and then release it somewhere where it is going to have a challenge to find another food, another place to hide. So many times our snake rescue is not so good for snakes. They many times don't survive in those situations because they have to find out everything again. They have to compete with the local snakes in those areas where you will release them. So my request to many of the snake rescuers, if they are following these practices, to try to release non-venomous snakes in the same area where it is rescued. Only with the venomous snakes we have a challenge because there is a snake bite envenomation cases or a snake bite cases can happen. So we take them little away from the human habitation and then release it. But also one more point in the snake rescue I would like to share with you, because we all started with kind of a snake catching and this snake rescue activity, also rehabilitating them if they are injured. But because of that, we could study a lot of snakes. If you want to study a snake, just going in a jungle, you may not find snakes immediately. But while rescuing, we'll be able to find out what species are around our human habitation, how they, which time they come out, what month their population is more, when you get young ones on the rescue. So a lot of other biological parameters you can find out while doing a rescue. So I always say that snake rescue is more than a rescue. Many times is a tool for conserving and studying these most fascinating animals on earth. Now, now this whole, the fascination, the fear, and everything is also leads to one of the fact, which is that there are a lot of snakebite deaths in India. So we have a snakebite envenoming challenges a lot in India. If I give you share a data with you that the paper which was published, they says that they estimate that India had 1.2 million snakebite deaths from 2000 to 2019. That comes to nearly average 58,000 per year. Nearly half of these deaths occurred between age of 30 and 69 years, which is the adult age, which is a bread earner of the family or people who works, you know, over a quarter in children under 15 years. So if you are looking at that, then the risk of an Indian dying from snake bite before age 70 is about 1 in 250. Can you imagine these numbers? We always talk about conservation, but we don't make much efforts to reduce these numbers. Typically, most of the deaths happen because people go to tantrics, mantrics, or a medical system is far away. If medical system is available, the antivenom is not available. If antivenom is available, doctors are not trained. So our basic public health centers in our country are generally not equipped and not trained to handle snakebite emergencies. So they send two patient to the district hospital, and many times these deaths happen because of this sending to the away district hospital. So, global scenario, if I look at about the snakebite envenoming, then it's a neglected tropical disease declared by WHO. Over 5.8 billion people are at risk of encountering a venomous snake. It is surprising but no less tragic that almost 7,400 people every day are bitten by snakes across the world. Daily, 220 to 380 men, women, children die as a result, adding up to about 2.7 million cases of envenoming. You know, the economic cost of snakebite envenoming is also unmanageable in most countries, as it affects not only the victims but their entire families, particularly poor communities in low and middle income countries that do not have social securities. The reasons for so many deaths because of snakebite envenoming is a high number of snake species of medical importance in agriculture areas and manual agriculture practices, which results in exposure to bites, reliance on traditional and quack treatments, walking at night without light, no adequate footwear, sleeping on ground, lack of widely disseminated standardized first aid and treatment protocols, inadequate distribution availability of antivenom serum, unprepared and unequipped medical facility, lack of knowledge about snake habits and behaviors for prevention. So there are many reasons and it's a complex subject. Also, many times what happens on the ground is that nobody knows whose responsibility it is. As I was telling you about Wildlife Protection Act, all snakes are protected under Wildlife Act. So the snake venom is under protected list as a part of wildlife trophy. Any research collection of venom snakes need permission under concerned PCSF of the state. At the same time, snakebite is the largest human animal conflict in our country. So snakes are protected, all the regulations are there for it. But when it comes to take a responsibility of this conflict, it's at the moment lacking in our forest departments. You know, health department also doesn't look at it as a major problem till now. Last month, there are a lot of changes has happened. We have recently come out with a national action plan on snakebite envenoming under Ministry of Health. Ministry of Environment Forest is also part of it. So I will say there is a sunrise happened in a snakebite death mitigation work in India in last 2 months. And I congratulate both the ministries for that. Snakebite envenoming mortality is also part of human right issue as a majority of cases happens to poor people. Nearly 6 states in India compensate for snakebite deaths under the Natural Calamity Act through Revenue Department. Now, going back to the problem of snakebite envenomation happens because some snakes has venoms. So what is venom? Venom is nothing but a modified salivary gland of a snakes. They have a venom glands, they have a venom duct, and they have a venom fangs. So there are different kinds of fangs different snakes have. There are called proteroglyphs, which are small fixed fangs. There are solenoglyphs, which are movable, foldable, and like a hypodermic needle, a large fangs in vipers. So they are very advanced venom and venom delivery systems in any animal today present on Earth. More than 90% of snake venom is protein. Each venom contains 100 different proteins, enzymes, and polypeptide toxins. There can be neurotoxins. There are, enzymes like hydrolysis, hydrolinases. I'm not going into detail of a venom. If you want, I can send you all the details. So most of the vipers have a venom containing procoagulant enzymes. So which stimulates blood clotting and makes the whole blood and the tissue destruction happens. In the neurotoxic venoms, it affects our nervous system. So about 50% of bites by vipers and nearly 30% of bites by cobras do not result in any signs or symptoms of envenoming. Snakes do not exhaust their venom after several strikes or after eating their prey. Bites by small snakes and large snakes of same species should be treated at same level of seriousness. Again, I'm not going the effect of venoms on our body. So, major medically important snakes in India, as you know, one is the common cobra or a binocellate cobra. General signs and symptoms in swelling and local pain, necrosis, blistering in some cases. There is a descending paralysis. So again, I am not going into all these symptoms, but we train medical professionals and paramedical professionals in these symptoms. This is common crate. Then there is a Russell's viper and a Sawscale viper. So a common cobra, common crate, Russell's viper and a Sawscale viper are majoritarily common venomous snakes found in kind of a peninsular India or a central India, southern India and a northern Indian part. But if you go to northeast of India and some part of eastern India, you have a completely different snake species dynamics there, where many of these species are not found, but some other venomous species are found in those areas. So in crates, you have a lot of these other crates in northeast and eastern parts of India, banded crate, black crate. These cobras like monocellate cobras, Andaman cobras is from Andaman. This is a monocellate cobra on the right, is found in eastern and northeastern part of India. Then there are a lot of pit vipers other than the vipers found across India. Now, going back to antivenom, those medically important snakes, as the common are 4, but other than them also, there are more kind of species. Like if I tell you here, we have 4 species of cobra, 7 species of kraits, 2 species of viper, and at least 4 species of pit vipers causing serious envenoming across India. So usually antivenom is a pepsin refined fragment of immunoglobulin G purified from the serum plasma of a horse that has been immunized with the venom of 1 or more species. In India, presently we use polyvalent or a polyspecific antivenom against 4 species: Naja naja, that is common cobra; Bungarus cerulus, common crate; Daboia russellia, Russell viper; Ichthys carinata is a Sawscale viper. Seems conventional wisdom is that these big 4 are responsible for majority of snake bites in India. But as I told you, you go to northeast part, eastern part of India, the snake species dynamics completely changes. And there maybe the medically important snake species are different than the most part of India. We have around 7 antivenom producers in India with capacity of nearly 2 million plus vials. But typically, the government procurement happens in tenders, so the availability and the distribution is always questionable. Current information on medically important snakes in India is very complex, and further data collection, epidemiological studies are needed to ascertain the real picture about what kind of antivenom we needed across India. Shortcomings of present antivenom: it does not include regional diversity of medically important snake species, negating its effectiveness in many regional geographies of India. Same species of snake shows an extreme regional variation in their venom design, reducing effectiveness of antivenom produced from venom derived from South Indian species of Big Four. Because at the moment, all the antivenom is produced with the venom collected from the South Indian species, particularly at Erula Cooperative in Chennai. Potency of present antivenom is low, and hence number of vials required to neutralize venom injected into victims are more. Standard dose of 10 vials is required. Economics is also quite high because one vial is priced more than 600 rupees. So say minimum dose is 10, that means it comes to in a private market around 6,000 rupees. In government hospital, this should be provided completely free of cost, but distribution, storage and availability is always a challenge in our rural areas. The first aid of snake bites, just remember, do it right. Remember the word right. R is for reassuring the patient. 70% of snake bites are from non-venomous species and 50% of bites by venomous species actually inject venom. So if you explain it to the patient while talking to them, so reassure them more and they don't get into panic. I is for immobilize as in case of fracture without compression. So please completely immobilize the patient. Don't ask them or don't at all move them at all and get to hospital as fast as possible. So that's the only first aid you can do. Reassure the patient, immobilize the patient and get to nearest health center as fast as possible. What not to do is a big list. Do not eat or drink anything unless okayed by medical sources. Do not engage in strenuous physical activity. Do not apply oral suction to bite. Do not cut or incise bite mark with blade. Do not apply either hot or cold packs. Do not wash with soap or water because it increases the flow of venom by stimulating lymphatic system. Do not waste time or take any risk trying to kill, bag or bring in offending snakes. We have always used to tell many years back in all our programs about tire tourniquet on a shoulder if you are bitten on a hand, tire tourniquet on a thigh if you are bitten on a leg. But present studies shows that tourniquets are contradictory. One is there is always a risk of ischemia and losing of that limb. Then there is an increased risk of necrosis with 4-5 of medically significant snakes of India. There is increased risk of massive neurotoxic blockade when tourniquet is released, risk of embolism if used in viper bites, and the most important, they do not work. Venom was not slowed by the tourniquet in several experimental studies as well as in field condition. And also, most important is it gives patient a false sense of security, which encourages them to delay their journey to hospital. So we generally at all do not advise tourniquets today. Also about the unreliable bite patterns, I would talk a little because a lot of people still, tell you that there are two big fang marks if you are bitten by venomous snakes. If a non-venomous snake, then you will get a small fang marks. This can only happen if there is a very academic bite. I am allowing snakes to bite very properly to me. But many times the hands and legs are pulled down. The bite happened through clothes and shoes. So there can be many times a single small scratch, or in case of crates where the fangs are very small, you may not even able to find the bite marks also. So do not rely on such kind of bite marks. WHO has come out few years back with a strategy for prevention and control of snake bite. And the strategy is based on reducing 50% snake bite deaths in the world by 2030. Now, last 2 years, Government of India has worked under NCDC, quite Ministry of Health, quite well, the civil society, scientists, and they have come out with recently a National Action Plan for Prevention and Control of Snakebite Envenoming, shortly called NAPSE. NAPSE advises every state to make their own state action plan, which will be called as a SAPSE. And this plan actually envisages the role of each and every ministry, from health, from forest and environment, to the Panchayat Raj, to the labor, to the tribal ministry, to the agriculture ministry. And it's looking at an overall holistic approach to reduce snake bite deaths in India. This is available on the NCDC website for download. You can go to NCDC website and download this plan. I run a specific program called Zero Bites, empowering communities across India wherever possible. This is to empower and engaging with communities, ensuring safe and effective treatment, strengthening health systems, increasing partnerships and collaborations at a local level. And we always try to tell people snakebite envenoming is preventable, snakebite envenoming is always treatable. What can you do? After going through this whole kind of a detailed and complex but very short presentation, actually each and every aspect of snakes may take 1 or 2 hours to present. But we have a lot of species in India, medically important species. We have an amazing biodiversity of snake species across India. We have a urban biodiversity also full of snakes, and snake rescue efforts always keep happening in our urban areas. So we need a lot of SOPs, standard operating practices to do that snake rescue. We have a lot of snake bite deaths in India, so there is a human-animal conflict also. So it's a complex issue. At the same time, we have tantrics, mantrics, superstitions, a lot of misinformation, wrong knowledge. So we have to fight on multiple fronts to reduce snake bite conflict and the deaths. So what can you do? One is involved in awareness and outreach programs in your areas. If you don't know how to, we can train you and you can train others. Find out nearest hospitals which gives antivenoms and treat victims. There is an app called Serpents available for Android and iPhone both, where if you can find out from your nearest hospital where antivenom is available and whether they treat a victim, so you can update that hospital and that antivenom storage on Serpent app. You can also report snake sightings, rescues, snake bites on a Serpent app. Presently, Indian Snakes also came out with a digital guide of snakes of India today. They have launched it today. So you can also go there and get that digital guide through Serpent app. If you are a snake rescuer, you can always use this particular app for SOPs and other rescue works. Organize doctors training in areas where you work. We can always provide assistance for expert trainers to train doctors. And most importantly, in the end, we always, all of our NGOs, NGI partners, there are many, there is, the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust, there is a Elena Trust, there is a lot of organizations working for this particular thing, like Indian Snakes, Snake Bite Initiatives. So funding support to those who are always doing good work. And if you can find that funding support, it will also help for the causes. Thank you. So I have 15 minutes for questions, Apurva.
A very nice presentation, though. I request participants if they have any questions, they can just raise their hands or write in the chat box. We have one question, I guess. So SPZP director is asking, good evening, Dr. Kedar Bhide. Thank you. If you may update on, there are reported 300 species of snakes in India and 60 being poisonous. How many species in the IUCN critically endangered list?
Okay, so first, let's change those two numbers. Present Zoological Survey of India Fauna and Flora list just published last month. Mixed snake species in India around 352. Out of them, 76 are being venomous. Also, though poisonous and venomous terms are used kind of interchangeably, the right word is always venomous, not poisonous. So there is a 76 venomous species in India. Out of that, in IUCN critical endangered list, more than nearly 30 species are there in IUCN critical endangered list.
Till then, I can take some questions, sir.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about the morphological changes of snakes. Do they differ according to the distribution, like from northern India to southern India? If we
Of the
talk
same
about
species?
of the same species, yes.
Yes, colors can change depending on the habitat. So generally we never, but the morphological characters which are used for identification, like scale counts, they will not change. They will remain
Okay.
same. But the colors can change.
Scale count, and is there any difference between the concentration of venom in the species? Or
Yes,
no?
the venom variation happens in the same species. We have seen some of the data, even say 100 kilometers will also change some of the time the venom variation in the same species. So because venom quantity or quality depend on what kind of food they are eating around in those areas, and what kind of whole ecosystem is around in that area. So the venom changes many times. So we have seen in the same species, there is a venom variation across India.
So I don't know if this statement is right or wrong, but they say generally northeastern states, snakes are more venomous compared to other parts of India. Is it true?
See, I will never use a word which is most venomous and which is the less venomous. Venomous snakes is a venomous snakes, and it has the ability to kill its prey by using that venom. Similarly, if it bites us and venom is injected, it has the ability to trouble us. So this whole, which is the most venomous or which is the most toxic venom, we should write in a bracket against rabbit or against rats where the experiments are done. You know, in that case, the crate venom is most toxic in all our venoms as per the experiments. But when it comes to medical importance or treating the snakes, I will not put any snake is more venomous and some snakes are less venomous. For us, each and every venomous snake bite is as important and as to be taken care of, but without thinking which is most venomous. What happened in the northeastern part of India, the species dynamics changes completely. So probably the antivenom which is produced against some of our four common South Indian snakes may not work in many part of northeastern India, and that's how probably the venoms in that area doesn't have a right antivenom. So in a medically important language or in a medical language, probably they are the most venomous because we hardly have a defense against them.
Okay. So Kunal Verma is asking, is all viper species venomous? And how many types of venom commonly found in snakes, like neurotoxic or hemotoxic? Apart from this, are there any other types?
So all viper species are venomous. Generally, in a very broadly, I'm telling you there is a three different kind of venoms you have. You have hemotoxic, you have a neurotoxic, you have myotoxic. Myotoxic is which affects the muscles. Particularly sea snakes venoms is predominantly myotoxic. Instantly it affects the energy production in your muscles, and whoever sea snakes bites, because it's an adaptation. The sea snakes, if they have to catch a fish in a sea and a fish doesn't paralyze or die immediately, in that whole sea a snake may not able to find that prey at all again. So it's an instant paralysis. So we have also some of the snakes shows cytotoxic venom, but few of the venoms, particularly in vipers, we have seen a mixture of cytotoxicity and hemotoxicity. In some neurotoxic venoms, which we say predominantly neurotoxic venom snakes, we also seen some of the hemotoxicity. So broadly, there is a hemotoxic, there is a neurotoxic, in few cases cytotoxic, and myotoxic in sea snakes. So broadly, these four different venoms types we can divide, but there is a lot of different mixtures can be possible to have.
So can you explain more about neurotoxic and hemotoxic? Like what are the symptoms if there is a snake bite? How
Neurotoxic.
to identify?
So neurotoxic venoms, in particularly, there are two kinds of venoms in neurotoxic: presynaptic and a postsynaptic. It's on their mode of action. So it basically affects our neural synapses to work. So there is a nerve paralysis happens. So particularly in case of say like cobra bite or a crate bite, when a neurotoxic venom affects, then the first thing starts with a facial paralysis or a neck paralysis. Then you go to the breathing apparatus paralysis. So a patient can't breathe. So when we say that there is a mortality happening to a neurotoxic venom, it's because of stopping of breathing. So in many of the cases, if you do not have immediate antivenom available, but you have a ventilator or ambibags available and you keep patients breathing, you can still save those patients when the antivenom is available. So neurotoxic venom basically stops our nerve functions. So stop our basic life necessities like breathing and other things. In a hemotoxic venom, it destroys local tissue, it destroys the blood. It has a lot of anticoagulant enzymes in it, but paradoxically, what it does, it stops our blood clotting mechanism, completely destroys it. So our blood do not clot and we keep bleeding heavily. That's why when we look at the symptoms, there is a lot of swelling, there is a gangrene, there is a tissue damage. But at the same time, there is one diagnostic test which we always advise patients for the doctors to do is a 20 minutes whole blood clotting test, where if it's not clotting, then it is taken as a confirmative viper bite and the antivenom is given.
Okay. There is one more question. Does Indian rock python also shades their waste skin?
All snakes shade their, it's not a waste skin as such, but they all shade their outer layer of the skin. They have to because it's a dead protein. Their body is growing, so they have to shed their skin. Just to comparative, even we shade our skin, but it's in a part single cells comes out. In snakes, it's a uniform process.
What is the common time of reproduction of snakes?
For every species is different. The mating time happens once in a year. So many of the species generally they mate around summer or a pre-monsoon time. The only reason because when the young one comes out, there will be abundance of food available in monsoon. But every species has a different mating time.
Uh, Santosh is asking, is there any research work ongoing for the production and efficacy of ASV, anti-snake venom in India?
Yes, there are much research going on. At IISc, there is a venomous department in Bangalore. There is also many departments across India now in many of the universities are working on venoms and antivenoms. So there's a lot of research going on presently on venoms and antivenoms.
Nilima is asking, thanks for the informative talk, sir. Please elaborate on what kind of awareness and training programs do you conduct? Anything for school-going children? Do you require minimum number of participants to conduct such programs? Last, do you think such programs are relevant for children in urban areas like Mumbai?
See, the education awareness program are always useful, particularly for children, because that education need to be spread. And we have always seen that children are the better vehicle. Adults don't come out of their belief system so fast. You know what they have kind of superstitions and fears. So for conducting a training program, it's always better if you're more crowd, but online training programs can be conducted for any number of people. And we have a lot of volunteers now going and doing this training program. So even if it's a small group somewhere, we can always organize the training program. Not always I can come, but we'll always manage somebody to come and do the program at any places. In urban localities, it is more important today to do these programs because we have seen that few of the venomous species like cobras and Russell's viper are abundantly found in around urban areas. The result is we provide them food and hiding places a lot because there is a lot of rats around us because of our unhygienic practices. Lot of hiding places on our gardens. We have a green heart, so we keep creating gardens and big plots of plants and everything. So animals will come. So we need to prepare ourselves for the challenges of a conflict in urban areas. And for that one particular reason, doing awareness programs in urban areas, though the snake bite cases are less than rural areas, it's always important to do this awareness program in urban areas too.
And sir, do you conduct these awareness sessions regularly? Is there any schedule?
Not a schedule as such on a demand many, but whenever we have these programs planned for our zero bite campaign in different rural areas, we do it in a different populations. And I would like to tell those who wants to do this kind of programs also, many of the times this kind of talks are customized as per the audience. So if you have a doctor's crowd, you need to have a different kind of presentation. If you have a rural villagers, you have a different kind of presentation because I can't talk about neurotoxicity and hemotoxicity with a rural crowd. I have to talk about how snakes are found in their areas, what precaution they can take, how they can do the prevention of snake bites. So similarly, depending on audience, this kind of education awareness program changes, and there cannot be a one tablet for all kind of this awareness. You need to create different. All these presentations we can make it available for anybody who wants to do these programs, provided they do a simple small collaboration with us to learn themselves first, then they can go and do this kind of programs. Because giving a wrong information is more bad than not giving a right information also.
So with snakes, generally, main problem that general people encounter is identification of snakes. So is there any guide that is precisely helpful for the identification?
There is a Snake Book of India. There is a digital guide which Indian Snake had just launched today on a World Snake Day for Snakes of India. But all these, those who are interested in knowing about snakes can think about identifying and learning identification. But you don't need to identify snakes for going to a hospital or getting a treatment for a snake bite. We have only one polyvalent antivenom, which is against only 4 common these venomous snakes which I told you about. So if you can just take a picture, that will surely add into our knowledge of which bite happened. But it is not needed to start a treatment. Treatment is started by looking at symptoms.
Okay. So when you test like about symptoms, how to identify, it is the more scientific to identify, but can you
Can I go back to
identify it?
sharing my presentation?
Yeah.
I went through fast because I wasn't sure about the time, but let me. So generally, cobra bites, comes out with this kind of symptoms. There is a swelling and local pain at the site of blind. There can be local necrosis and blistering, or may not be. The descending paralysis happens. Ptosis means closing of eyelids. Patient doesn't have a control on their eyelids. You feel like they are going to sleep, kind of thing. Then patient complains of difficulty later in focusing, eyelids feel very heavy, paralysis of jaw and tongue. The neck paralysis can also happen, numbness around the lips and mouth. So these are typical symptoms of neurotoxic venom in cobra bites. In crate bites, there can be another symptoms, which is a stomach pain, which doesn't happen in cobra bites. Many times in crate bites, symptoms sometimes happens nearly after 6 to 12 hours also. There are cases reported where after 6 to 12 hours, crate bite symptoms can happen. So we always tell doctors, if you get a snake bite and if there are no symptoms also, keep them under observation for 24 hours if possible. Otherwise, symptoms can come after 6 to 12 hours if it's a crate bite. Also, we tell doctors if crate bite patients many times present in early morning with paralysis, that can be mistaken for a stroke. So if there is a on ground sleeping history, and if there is a paralysis and early morning it comes to for medical treatment, please look at it, can be possible snake bite case. In hemotoxic venoms, particularly the Russell's viper, Saskatoon viper, and some of the pit vipers, there is again swelling and local pain. There is a bruising and bleeding from bite, blistering in some cases. There is an enlargement of local lymph nodes, bleeding from gum and nose, vomiting, acute abdominal tenderness. The positive 20 WBCT, that is whole blood clotting test, 20 minutes whole blood clotting test, is taken as kind of a diagnosis decision when the antivenom should start.
Sir, can I request you to share your phone number or email ID in the chat box so participants may contact you directly for the collaboration of awareness sessions. Kunal Verma is asking for your presentation as he is a naturalist in Madhya Pradesh ecotourism government. So they can directly get into touch with
My
you.
email ID, phone, both are there.
Yes. So participants can contact him directly. So can you tell us more about your founding of Nature Work and Reptile Rescue and Study Center?
So Reptile Rescue and Study Center is a kind of a old organization. We started a few of friends in 1997 in Mumbai, when there was, there were a lot of snake rescues to happen, but most organized and a scientific way wasn't there. So we started RRSC long back in Mumbai, and we worked towards getting more people trained, mentoring more snake rescue for better rescue practice and everything. That organization is kind of defunct at the moment. It wasn't a registered organization. It was just a group which was doing a good work as such. But nearly now it's 15 years, I moved myself from a snake rescue and a snake taxonomy to a snake bite death mitigation works. Because one of the sure, when you go across India and when you talk and study snakes, what comes out is that there is so many deaths because of snake bite envenoming. And if that is going to be happen, how are you going to tell people to conserve snakes? So I diverted my attention from snake rescue and other stuff to more on a snake bite death mitigation for last nearly 12, 15 years. And we run a campaign called Zero Bites, to teach people about prevention of snake bites, teach doctors on the treatment of snake bites, and also help other research organizations who are doing research on venom and antivenoms.
Some example of worst case you might have encountered about the snake bite. And there was
There are many, means what experience you want to know.
So I was doing some short study on snake bite, collecting data of snake bite. That's a huge number, and there is not enough awareness compared to the number of snake bites. So the tantric, where people get diverted to. So can you tell some? Can you elaborate more
See,
on it?
it's a typical scenario where, say, I will tell you, if 10 people gets bitten by snakes, as a law of average, most of the snakes are non-venomous. 5 or 6 people are not bitten by venomous snakes.
Yeah.
No? Nothing is going to happen to them. If 4 people are bitten by snakes, say, and a venomous snakes bitten, many times 2 cases at least no venom is injected. Okay, and only 2 cases the venom gets injected. So when 10 people goes to mantrik, 8 people are generally going to survive. Okay, and 2 people are going to die. So mantrik always tells they have come late or they have ज़्यादा पाप किए इन लोगों ने. So so typically in our psyche we always keep remembering these people who have survived, and we keep forgetting people who have died after going to tantrics and mantrics. The people who survives after going to tantric and mantric survives because there is no envenomation, or it's a non-venomous snake bite. So people keep believing these kind of wrong practices with the quacks and everything, because some people are surviving after going to. But that's the only message you need to pass on to the areas, that many times nothing is going to happen to you even a snake bites, because the snake is non-venomous, or many of the cases if venomous snake bites also the venom is not injected. Okay, so that keeps working on our rural areas for tantric mantrics, and we are developing ourselves, all tantric mantrics are developing ourselves technically quite well. I have one experience where I've seen a patient having a mobile phone, tied to the ear out of the hospital. And we ask what's happening, why you are not taking him to hospital. So the relatives say, no, there is a mantrik chanting mantras in a mobile. The mantrik is 100 kilometers away and mobile is tied to a patient's ear. And mantrik is paid on GPay and Paytm. That's the story of our modern India today. We have, in rural areas, the digitization is quite high, but our good practices are not going there, but it is used for many times in wrong practices in a snake bite work.
Sir, in snakes, is it general practice to give fake bite? Like the venomous snakes give fake bite. So how general it is?
Means how general the venom is injected when the bite happens. See,
The
there is
fake
no
bites
thumb
are
rule.
given.
There is no thumb rule, and I don't want to tell you so, kind of importantly that it matters, because actually in snake bite case scenario, it doesn't matter whether it's just to reassure the patient that 50% times, there is no venom is injected and it's a dry bite. But it is to reassure, don't take it that chances of dry bites are more, and do not go to the health center. Okay, you need to go to health center in case of any kind of snake bite without thinking about venomous, non-venomous, dry bites. Just go as early as possible to health center.
Kunal Verma is asking, sir, can you please explain how antivenom is produced through horse?
So this process is called hyperimmunization process. The 4 common venomous snakes venom is taken and in a gradually increasing dosages injected into a horse. Horse and khachars or equine animals are a natural, they can produce antibodies against snake venom. So these small increasing dosages venom is injected into their body. When they produce enough antibodies, blood plasma is collected. Earlier they used to collect a lot of blood and plasma is separated. Today with the modern technology, the blood comes out, antibodies are separated and blood goes back into the horse. So the antivenom, these whole antibodies are from horse. Then it is filtered, purified, and then lyophilized. So most of our antivenoms today available in India are lyophilized in a powder form, and they can be stored at a room temperature around 25 to 30 degrees, but they don't need to be refrigerated. So many of the places I see, they have been put into a deep freeze or a refrigerated, which is not required. When it's lyophilized one, you can actually store in a shadow, in a dark area, in a room temperature.
Sir, is it true that many patients are allergic to horse plasma and hence antivenom doesn't work at time?
I will not use many patients, but yes, in some cases, there is an anaphylactic shock possibility, like allergic shock to the antivenom, because these are the horse antibodies in that way. But there is enough treatment available to take care of anaphylactic shock. Yes, and that's why today the antivenom can be only given under medical supervision in a health center, not in the field, or if it's a non-doctor, they can't give. The antivenom is given through saline, and there is a possibility always for anaphylactic shock. But if venom is injected in your body during the bite, you have to take antivenom, you cannot stop it. So then the patient is treated for anaphylactic shock, but antivenom is given. Just there may be some people who are in a snake field. So just a caution, if you are bitten by venomous snakes and and you have taken antivenom, there is a more chances of you getting anaphylactic shock next time if you have to get antivenom. So if you are already treated once with antivenom, please see to that you don't get bitten again.
Also, does the potent of viper venom found in West Bengal differ from ones found in northern regions? Does it affect antivenom potency?
Yes, answer to both question, yes. And that's what we are working towards. Many people are working towards having a new antivenom, regional antivenoms into particular areas than having only at the moment one antivenom which is produced with venoms of South Indian snakes. And I think it's being a fast track today at a different levels to create a regional antivenom or solve this problem of antivenom potency today.
Are there any more questions from participants? There don't seems to be
Okay.
much.
I think our timing planning was very good, Apurva.
Yes, sir. Sir, can I proceed with vote of thanks?
Yeah, please.
Conclude the session. As we conclude the special episode on swimming conservation and celebration of World Snakes Day, I would like to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our esteemed guest, Kedar Pidi. Thank you, sir, for joining in the session and giving your insights and the ecology conservation and importance of snakes that have provided us with deeper appreciation of this remarkable species. To our audience, especially those who are involved in conservation and environmental studies, I hope you found today's session both useful and inspiring. Once again, thank you, sir, for the remarkable session, and we actually had some good questions from participants.
Thank you, Apurva.
Thank you.
Thank you.